for any of you who have ever seen my old YouTube channel, you would know that my very first video that I ever put out was a Jay Talbane Pauper deck. And I believe it was fire, and it worked off some like damage reduction. It was all about synergy and stuff, but it was the first video that really kind of like launched me into making YouTube videos for universes, or I guess it was UFS at the time. So this is going to be kind of an homage to where I started it, making videos for UFS, and we're going to make a retro Jay Talbane deck, and we're going to see if we can make one that's viable enough for me to play in the retro event that's coming up this weekend. Now, I don't expect this deck to be like top tier or competitively viable, but if I can at least get it into around the 50 percentile, give or take maybe 5. So if I can manage to land around the mid-range in results, I would be pretty happy with that, given the fact that Jay Talbane is not exactly known as a good character. So we're going to dive into it. We're going to see what we can build. Then I'm going to show you guys the list, and we'll talk about it, and we'll see where the synergies are coming from and where the angles are. And maybe we'll build a second one, and we'll talk about that as well, and we'll compare the two and pick the best one out of the two, and we'll run that one later on. So without further ado, let's get into it, and we'll check out what this deck's going to look like. Okay, so here we are with the Jay Talbane deck. So this deck was an interesting build. I'm putting it together to be as aggressive as possible, while still making sense with a little touch of utility in it. So I'm going to go over everything. The concept behind this deck is now, because we're in retro and we have access to new cards at standard that we didn't have before, we have access to a Cherub Cyclone, which is a slam throw. We have Draining Vector, which is also a slam throw, and then we also have Thundering Impact, which is also a slam throw. Of course, Jay Talbane's effect, you can commit him after your Kick Punch or Slam deals damage, you can draw 2 cards. So we're going to take advantage of these 3. Then we're running 2 copies of Canyon Flyer, because we're running as many throws as we can get our hands on. The 3 slam throws that we're running will all reduce the difficulty of Canyon Flyer, so we can play out those slam throws, and then we can throw Canyon Flyer in there, and we're still only paying 5 for the difficulty of it. I don't know if we'll ever get the first attack not blocked thing unless our opponent just gives it to us, which I doubt will happen, but this is just a weaker, it's probably the weakest attack in the deck, but it fits into the motif really well because we can also run 4 copies of Zing. So essentially these are just going to be 2 extra copies of Zing, but kind of worse. Because we're playing Jay Talbane, we're trying to draw a pile of cards and then just keep playing massive strings of attacks. So being able to reduce our difficulty is pretty good. So once we get to a certain point, we're just playing stuff at a reduced curve. Because we're running so many throws, we're going to be building momentum quite easily. So then we're going to run 2 copies of Reverberate. It's a multiple 2, and we can destroy foundations to give it +3 damage on each copy. So this is going to be a great way to end games once we start gaining momentum. And additionally, we can also use Reverberates to fill up our card pool that we can then end off by throwing Zings. So we have some good synergy in our attack lineup. Going back to what Jay Talbane does naturally, if it's your first attack, you're going to get +2 speed, +2 damage on it. That's just natural if it's the first attack you play each turn. We're not running any reversals in this deck because this is just going to be an offensive aggression deck. However, we do have 2 cards that can help take advantage of this. We are running Thundering Impact. If the speed is greater than printed, we're going to get an additional +3 damage, so we just get +2, +5 if we play this first. And with Draining Vector, if we have momentum, we can then burn our opponent for 3 vitality afterwards. So we can take a little bit of advantage of Jay Talbane's pump that way. Moving over to our actions and assets, we're running 4 copies of Revoke. It's our only action that we're going to be running in this deck. And it's going to be one of our only hand traps that we're running. Omega Sword and Shield, this thing will help us chain block if we ever have the situation where we're planning on blocking. We're trying to be as aggressive as we can, but the 4+ for extra damage that's Blood Ball committed is really good because those slam throws have 2s and 3s on them. So we'll get some extra damage off of the Omega Sword and has a really good static ability on it. We're running 1 copy of Swordfish. It'll help us gain momentum. Additionally, it will help abort attacks. This will be a little bit of our defensive piece. We're running 1 copy of Flambert. This is just going to give us some speed pump in case we don't play these cards first. We're going to be able to put some speed on them and still get their effects off. Additionally, it is also speed reduction. It's very cheap and easy to play, so it's a great one-of. You'll notice we're running 4 copies of Zealot Rush. So this card is being played purely off symbol on the all symbol because every copy of Zealot Rush that we manage to get out is basically going to draw us 2 cards. So on a build turn, we can play this card first, pull it down, continue building, or we can play it, pull it down, and then try to push out some attacks. We can do some chip damage and then build afterwards because it self-clears. After you play this card, you can just add it to your staging area committed. And then on the following turn, we can use it to ready our Jay Talbane and draw more cards off of it. So that's very important for what we're trying to do as I get into the rest of the package. We are running 4 copies of Passing the Torch. This card, we are going to try to, as much as possible, draw 2 cards off it while we have no cards in hand. We can use it to draw 1 card, but that is less advantageous for us. We want to be drawing 2 every time. 1 out of every 3 cards in the deck should be an attack. So we want to draw 2 to maximize those odds. We are going to be using a Cursed Fate to help us get rid of our other cards. Okay, so like I said, this is just like an all-out aggression deck. So we're going to be using Cursed Fate to discard cards that are not attacks. We're going to be using Passing the Torch to then try and refill our hand. And we're just going to be constantly trying to draw piles of cards, use the surplus cards to gain damage, and then draw more cards and keep trying to string out as big of attack chains as we can. We're running 4 copies of Hero's Training because it's cheap, it's easy to play. It's going to be a little bit of life gain on our opponent's turn so that we can try to survive a little bit longer. We're only trying to squeeze out 1 more turn to push out aggressive throws. And if we ever check it on playing an attack, it's just +3 free damage, so there's no reason not to get +3 free damage. So now remember that we're running throws that are slammed so we can draw cards off Jay Talbane. And we're running throws so they're very likely to end up in our momentum. Because of that, we're running 4 copies of Merciless Master. So once per turn, we can add a momentum to the top of our deck. And then if we're going to be chucking out a slam throw, we're going to be able to hit our opponent and then draw those cards using Jay Talbane. So if we can do a poke turn where we can get a couple momentum stacked up that are throws, then we get some Mercy Masters out, we can put those on top, we can open up with a slam throw, hit them, draw the 2, draw those throws, and then just keep throwing those throws at them turn after turn. And the great thing about Merciless Master is it doesn't commit to generate those effects. It's just a once per turn, so it can stay ready. After we do its effect, we can then commit it to pass those cards that we just drew using it. So it is very good, and on niche occasions, we can use this other E to add it on top to guarantee we check that 5, which is very important when we're going to be trying to play Zings or Canyon Flyers, and we know we need 5s for them, so it helps ensure that those things get passed. I already talked about Cursed Fate, what we're using it for. A very important thing to note when you're playing a throw deck is that you're always trying to use cards like Cursed Fate to push your attack into an odd damage number, because all the damage rounds up. So if you're at 7 damage, you will do 4 on the half block, and that's important. So whenever you're at an even number for your damage of your attack, just bump it up by 1 more using Cursed Fate, and it'll get you that extra chip on the half block. We're running 4 copies of A Lesson in Magic because it's not banned in Retro, and it's just, again, going to help make sure that our aggression strings are consistent, so we can just recheck our attacks if we keep seeing them. And then these are our one-ups. We're running 1 copy of Confronting Jedha. This is going to be both defensive and offensive. If we get the +2 speed off of Jay Talbane, we can use it to put an additional +2 damage on it, but additionally it combos pretty well with breaking the limits. Our attack gets +4 damage, deck stack gets +4 speed, so this is a card that's also going to let us put a lot of damage on a throw. Then it's going to help us put speed on either something like Draining Vector or Thundering Impact, and then if we have that, we can use Confronting Jedha on that one instead. We can do a few different things with it. So it's pretty fun. It's one of, so it's +8 value on 1 card to destroy, which is pretty good. We're running safety 3s. So nothing in this deck has a 2 check on it. So we are A-okay to run 3 checks. We're running 1 copy of Surveyor. It's just going to be commit, draw, a throw. That's really what we're using this thing for. It doesn't have a block, and I don't want too many of it. I do want to save some of our momentum for Reverberate. And our Merciless Master engine is just very, very similar, but it doesn't commit as much, and it gets us more throws. So we're trying to use that. Bird of Prey we're running 1 of, because we're going to use that first form to try and draw a card. We're just using this as an additional review step. That's what this is for. So we're not trying to +1 off it. We want to just draw 1 more, see if we can find another attack, and then throw away cards we don't need on the given turn. Or if we're trying to build, we can throw away attacks and see if we can draw more foundations or useful cards. We can also help use it to review extra Zealot Rushes if we run into them. We're running 2 copies of Over the Top. This card's going to be interesting, so it's going to help us push out Zings. Is really what it's for. It's also a cheap spammy foundation that we can play out. We can also block with it. It doesn't count towards progressive. All that fun stuff. It still does those things, but if we play 4 attacks, we can throw this thing in on the 4th attack. We can check the top card, make sure it's a 5 before we push out a Zing. So that's what this thing's good for. I don't want to see a lot of it, so 2 is a really good copy count for that. We're running 2 Dust in the Wind for speed reduction and 2 Caught Red-Handed for negation. If I'm going to build a sideboard for this, I'd probably put in 2 more Dust in the Winds and 2 more Caught Red-Handeds, depending on matchup. And then I'd probably put in a few other things. Honorable mentions up here. Obviously, we're going to have Shadow of Cowboy, just in case we're running into lots of Toguro Bros. We also have Protecting the Protector, if we need to protect ourselves, obviously. And then if people are running lots of Breaker, then we have Ominous Prophecy for that. And then Breakfast is kind of an interesting choice if I'm going to be running to 7 hand sizers. So if I have room in my sideboard, depending on what I end up doing with this deck and how the fine tuning goes as I test it, Breakfast may end up going into the sideboard because it's a great card to bring in a throw deck if you're playing against 7 hand sizers, because it's going to help push extra damage out. And on those first few build turns, if you find a Breakfast, you can build more aggressively and then push more aggressively and try to close them out faster. Because if you're playing a deck like this and you're playing aggression versus aggression, you're playing on this weird aggro timer thing. And usually 7 hand sizers can aggro a bit harder than a throw clock based deck like this one is. So if you're in that situation, you want to be able to draw more cards, build more aggressively, and push harder in the early game, and Breakfast will help me do that. It'll get me a little bit more damage. It'll get me a little bit more push through. So it just helps accelerate against 7 hand sizers is what I'm trying to say with it. So that's what that card's in there for. I don't know if I'm gonna put it in there or not. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. So this is kind of my options for sideboards right now. And this is kind of the core of the deck, how it functions. There's additionally a card by Jay Talbane that allows you to discard a momentum and destroy it after like a punch kick slam hits. That keyword gets -2 difficulty, and that's a card I might run or test out in this deck as well. I'm hoping a Lesson in Magic just kind of does that for me a little bit. And I think this card might be better because like it's a flip cost and it's not a destroy cost and it doesn't cost my momentum, so that's why I'm not running it main board. I didn't put it in right away. I'm running Lesson in Magic instead. Lesson in Magic, very strong. And you can use this on your opponent's stuff too. After a player makes a check, you can just hack it, quote unquote hack it. So yeah, there's some interesting things you can do with this that's clutch, so it's really good. And that's the framework. I'm probably going to put together another version of this deck using chest slams or maybe slam combos and using Ibuki's new DLC Foundation that gives you +1/+1 per combo that you pull off, because I know he's got some slam combo stuff that he can do. So I'm going to rebuild this deck now. I'll come back. It'll probably still cheese Zealot Rush, but we'll see what I can do on some other symbols. But yeah, until next time, this was Toy, and you'll be seeing probably another 1 or 2 videos about this Jay Talbane nonsense that I'm doing. Maybe I'll do some match coverage too. We'll see. But until next time, peace out.